Okay, the purpose of my inspirational speech is to inspire the people listening to use their voices to speak up for people who might not be able to speak up for themselves. So, growing up, I always thought, and not because I was told, I just always thought that my voice, sorry if you hear something in the background, I have 2 little siblings running around, but okay, starting over. Growing up, I always thought that my voice didn't matter because I was younger than people, people were more experienced than me, more mature, or just afraid that people wouldn't listen. But the older I've gotten, the more I've noticed how many people around me have stayed quiet because they're afraid of getting ignored, they're scared, or they don't think anyone will listen. And reading this week's chapter kind of just made me realize how important it is for people to speak up and how powerful it can be when somebody chooses to, especially when it's for somebody who maybe can't do it for themselves. So I want to tell you why your voice really matters and how using it for good and to speak up for people who can't speak up for themselves could change somebody's life. So what advocacy really is using your voice to help somebody who can't help themselves or can't speak up for themselves in a certain situation. So we are supposed to advocate for people because it's the right thing to do, and sometimes people just can't do it for themselves. In this week, Schultz said we loan our communication skills to others. So what that really means is like we help people when they need it. Like if a friend called you and asked to borrow something, you would give it to them because they just needed to borrow it. It's like the same thing. We're helping people when they can't help themselves. People who are voiceless, who might need advocated for, could be kids, like lonely people, older people, people with mental health issues. There's a whole range of things. So, since we cleared that up, now I'm going to tell you about why it actually matters in real life. So my first reason is the Bible. So the Bible tells us that we should defend people who are oppressed. And I think that faith is such a big part of many, many things, and that it should be taken into account when looking at a lot of different things. So I'm going to read you Proverbs 31, 8-9, which says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak up for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly, defend the rights of the poor and needy." So that is literally like word for word telling us to speak up for people who can't, and we should defend our brothers and sisters because sometimes they can't help themselves, and we would want somebody to help us when we were in times of being down. And sometimes people just need help because they simply don't have the same opportunities as us, and it might be hard to accept that sometimes, but there really are just people that need help, and that is why it is so important that we advocate for others. When we speak up, we fight those things that make us so separate from the people who might need help. We fight injustices that people might not have the same opportunities or whatever. So knowing why it's important is good, but the real question is what we can actually do about it. So it doesn't have to be big. We can start small. Like just in your everyday life, notice who's left out, who gets talked over when they try to speak, who might look like they're biting their tongue. You need to also listen before you talk so you can understand what other people need to hear. So sometimes somebody might say something and kind of get overshadowed. Maybe you need to say something like, "Oh, this person had a good point." Or just like, maybe you need to let this person talk. Like, we need to stick up for other people. We need to use our influences, like school, social media is a big one, friendships, to lift other people up and encourage them rather than ignore, tear people down, whatever. And we need to take risks. And I think that's something in today's society that a lot of people are afraid of, is speaking up. It's something I'm afraid of, but I think it's a really important thing. And regardless of what we are afraid of, we need to do it. So overall, I think speaking up for others isn't something that only heroes or adults can do. It's something every one of us need to do, and it is very important. When we pay attention to our surroundings, I'm doing something, listen and use our voices, we bring hope and confidence to people who might not think they matter on their own, and that is such an important thing.